$640. That is the entire balance in this man's checking account the day before payday. And almost everyone who meets him is convinced he is a millionaire. Look at the evidence. A big title at work. A house in the school district people fight to get into. 2 leased cars worth more than some people earn in a year. Strangers assume he is set for life. His own parents assume he is set for life. Every one of them is reading it wrong. After 13 years of earning, his investment accounts add up to about $90,000. He still owes $170,000 in student loans. And there is a credit card balance that climbs a little every month, gets pushed back down on payday, and never quite disappears. If he lost his income tomorrow, the life he built has roughly 6 weeks before the whole thing comes apart. Over his career, he has been paid more than $3.5 million. He has kept almost none of it. There is a name for this: high earner, not rich yet. And I want to be honest with you about the most dangerous word in that phrase, the word yet. For most people in this trap, the yet never comes. They are not on a slow road to wealth. They are on a treadmill that quietly turns some of the highest incomes in the country into some of the worst savings rates you will find anywhere outside of real poverty. Today, I am going to show you exactly how this trap closes, why high earners are the clearest example of it, even if you will never wear a white coat. The 3 spending decisions that destroy more wealth than every coffee run in history combined, and the strategy that actually turns a big income into real money instead of an expensive costume. Quick legal note before we go deeper. I am not a financial advisor. I am a cartoon in a sequin dress who happens to look suspiciously like the owner's daughter, mostly because I got this anchor desk the same week my dad mentioned he owns the building. So treat this as education, not a personal plan. Talk to a licensed human before you move real money. Okay, badge back in the drawer. Still here? Good, because here is the part nobody told the guy in that driveway. The thing draining him is not the lattes. Buckle up. We are about to find the actual leak. Picture a bathtub. The water pouring in from the faucet is your income. The drain at the bottom is your spending. The water that stays in the tub is your wealth. That is the only number that matters, not what comes in, what stays. Here's what happens to high earners. Every time they open the faucet wider, the drain opens just as wide. Income jumps from $60,000 to $300,000, and spending climbs to $299 almost overnight. The tub never fills. You can run millions of dollars of water through it across a career and still stand there looking at an empty tub, wondering where it all went. The income was real. It just never turned into anything you can keep because the spending swallowed every extra dollar before that dollar had a chance to sit down. And before you tell me this is a doctor problem, it is not. Swap the white coat for an engineer, a lawyer, a software architect, a founder, a closer. The trap works the exact same way. In fact, the bigger your income, the harder it snaps shut, because high earners get access to upgrades a normal budget never even sees. And almost every one of those upgrades arrives with a contract stapled to it. We treat a high salary like armor against going broke. The numbers say it often does the opposite. It lets people dig deeper holes faster, with more confidence, while telling themselves the income will eventually fix everything. The income does not fix anything. The income is the bait. We see the title and assume the money is there, but income and wealth are cousins, not twins. Income is what shows up. Wealth is what stays behind. And for a huge share of top earners, almost nothing stays. Plenty of them earn enough over a career to fill a vault and walk away with less than a tenth of it. And the highest earners often start the race underground. Most people begin at zero. A new doctor begins inside a hole so deep you cannot see the top. The typical graduate is carrying around $200,000 in school debt. Specialists, often $300,000 or more. And that debt grows interest the entire time they are still training, working brutal hours for a fraction of the pay. By the time the big paycheck finally lands, they are broke in the most literal sense. Negative net worth, early 30s, no real assets, a mountain of debt, and they have already missed the most powerful decade compounding will ever offer them. A 32-year-old in this spot has to sprint just to reach the starting line a teacher crossed 10 years earlier. Now, think about what those years cost emotionally. You spend your 20s inside a library and a hospital ward. You miss the weddings, the trips, the houses your friends are buying. You delay everything for a decade. Then the first real paycheck hits and the dam breaks. This is not greed. It is relief. There is even a name for it: pent-up deferred gratification. You feel like you are owed a lifestyle. You tell yourself, I am successful now. I should live like it. So instead of using that flood of income to fill the hole and build a cushion, the money sprints straight toward the visible stuff: the car, the bigger place, the trip, the watch, the signal. The logic feels airtight in the moment. You worked harder than almost anyone. You suffered. You deserve it. But that feeling is exactly what glues your spending to your income for the next 30 years. You are trying to buy back a lost decade with the paychecks of the next one. And every dollar spent that way is a dollar that never grows into the freedom you actually wanted. The first repair is uncomfortable. If your net worth is negative, you are not rich. You are a high-income, broke person. Harsh, but you need it. Your title is not your bank balance. A big paycheck does not automatically mean you can afford the life that title is supposed to come with. The move in the early years is to keep living like you did before the money showed up. Hold your spending flat for 2 to 5 years after the big income starts. If you can live on $60,000 while earning $300,000, that gap of $250,000 is what fills the hole. You climb out, you reach the starting line everyone else hit years ago, and only then do you build from solid ground. Almost nobody does it. Most people inflate instantly. And if you think the student loans are the villain here, you are looking at the wrong thing. Loans are just math. You can pay them down. The real killer is what happens to your fixed costs the second you sign that big contract. We throw around the phrase lifestyle creep like it is cute. Let me define it. It is when your spending rises in lockstep with your income, so your savings rate never moves no matter how much you earn. For a normal budget, creep means buying the fancier ketchup. For a high earner, creep means upgrades with multi-year contracts. The rented apartment becomes a mortgage on a 4-bedroom in the right district. The old reliable car becomes 2 leases. Public school becomes private tuition for 2 kids. Cooking at home becomes a meal service, plus 4 nights out. These are not one-time purchases. They are new, permanent floors. Move into the bigger house, and now you furnish it, heat it, cool it, landscape it, repair it. Your spending does not drift up. It teleports to a higher level and locks there. And the contracts make stepping back down expensive enough that most people never even try. Let me run real numbers. Tobin lands a job paying $300,000. After taxes, insurance, and benefits, his take-home is around $18,000 a month. Sounds enormous. Watch it vanish. Student loan payment, $3,000. Mortgage plus property taxes on the nice house, $6,000. 2 car leases, $1,500. Private school for 2 kids, $4,000. We have not bought a single grocery. We have not paid one utility. We have not invested $1, and we have already spent $14,500. That leaves $3,500 for food, utilities, clothes, travel, and the small matter of saving for retirement. His fixed costs sit right under his income with no room to breathe. 1 sick stretch, 1 cut in hours, 1 bad year, and he is instantly underwater. $300,000 a year, living paycheck to paycheck. So why do smart people sign up for this math? It comes back to a cycle. The work is brutal. Most high earners in demanding fields report feeling burned out. When you spend the day making high-stakes calls for 12 straight hours, you come home with nothing left. You do not have the energy to comparison shop or to ask whether a purchase is worth it. You want comfort. You want anything that makes the next 12 hours hurt less than the last 12. This is soothing spending. You order the expensive takeout because you are too tired to cook. You book the luxury escape because you do not just want a new place. You want out of your reality for a week. You buy the expensive car because the commute is the only quiet you get all day, and you want that seat to feel like a refuge. And here is the loop. You earned it. That is true. But by spending it on comforts to soothe the stress, you guarantee you have to keep the stressful job to keep paying for the comforts that soothe the stress. The stress needs the comfort. The comfort needs the job. The job makes the stress. Around and around it goes. Breaking the loop needs one hard rule. Never upgrade a fixed cost right after a raise. When your income jumps, your fixed costs stay flat for at least 12 months. Buy the nice dinner. That is a one-time thing. Buy the shoes. Take the trip. Those are flexible. What you cannot do is sign a contract. No new mortgage, no new lease, no new tuition, no fancier gym, no weekly service locked on auto pay. That 12-month pause cuts the wire between I am stressed, I got a raise, and I am going to lock myself into a more expensive life. It forces you to prove you can save the surplus first. And here is the twist that catches people. After a year of saving the difference, the urge to upgrade usually just fades. The smaller house feels fine. The growing balance feels better than countertops ever would. You finally rested, and you stopped needing to buy your way out of exhaustion. Most money advice tells you to sweat the small stuff. Skip the coffee, cancel the streaming, clip the coupons. I am telling you the opposite. Keep the coffee, keep the streaming. High earners do not go broke on $5 purchases. They go broke on 3 decisions that double as status symbols. Get these 3 wrong, and no amount of skipped lattes will save you. Get them right, and you can buy coffee every day for the rest of your life. The 3 levers that decide your financial future as a high earner are your house, your car, and your kids' schooling. These are not just expenses, they are rank badges. There is real pressure to broadcast your status to the people around you. Drive the expected car into the lot. Live in the expected zip code. Send the kids to the expected school. Psychology has a name for this: mimetic desire. We want what the people around us have, not because we actually want it, but because they have it. We assume their wanting it makes it worth wanting. So people stretch past their means, chasing a picture of what success is supposed to look like. You are not just buying a car. You are buying approval from a group whose nod costs you 15 years of growth. Look at the car alone. A solid, reliable one might run $30,000. The status version, the luxury SUV or the sports sedan, $90,000. Over 5 years, with the insurance, the premium fuel, and the faster depreciation, that luxury car costs you double or triple. The status premium is not 20%. It is closer to 200%, paid monthly for the rest of your driving life. Now, the house. $1 million mortgage at today's rates is heavy, but the mortgage is just the entry fee. Property taxes can run $20,000 to $30,000 a year in a top district. Upkeep on a big home runs $10,000 to $15,000 in a normal year, and far more the year the roof goes. Heating and cooling roughly double. The bigger the house, the more it quietly demands every single month. Then private school, $20,000 to $40,000 per child per year, paid with after-tax dollars. To cover a $30,000 tuition bill, you have to earn closer to $50,000 before taxes. Stack house, car, and school together, and you have spent 80% of your take-home before you have bought a single grocery. Underneath a lot of this is imposter syndrome. High achievers are often terrified of looking like they do not belong. Showing wealth becomes a shortcut for saying, "I made it. I am competent. Look at the driveway." It protects the ego. And it is genuinely uncomfortable to be the top earner driving a 10-year-old car into that lot. People wonder if you are struggling. Ignoring that takes a strong internal compass. But here is the irony almost no one admits. The colleagues flashing the most expensive cars are usually the most stressed about money. They are financing the image. They are one missed paycheck from the whole thing unraveling. Copy them, and you are not copying their wealth. You are copying their anxiety. The prize in that game is a nicer pair of handcuffs. The fix is to change what you think you are buying. Instead of asking, "What does a successful person drive?" ask, "What does this car cost me in freedom?" Price things in work. If a luxury lease costs you 2 extra brutal shifts a month, is the leather worth being awake at 3 in the morning, away from the people you love, doing work you would rather skip? Usually, the answer is no. This is values-based spending. You decide to step out of the status game on purpose. You can be the one driving the old car and wear it like a badge. That old car is not a sign you are struggling. It is a sign you do not have to pick up extra shifts unless you actually want to. Quick favor while we are here. If this is rearranging something in your head, hit the like button. It costs $0, signs no contracts, and it is the only upgrade I will ever ask you to make. Okay, back to the math. Now, let me show you the way out with two versions of the same man. Both are Tobin. Same $350,000 salary. Same job, same year, same everything. The first Tobin spends like the man in the driveway. Tight cash flow, saving maybe 5%, mostly through reluctant retirement contributions. His income climbs and his spending chases it. The gap between them, the water that stays in the tub, is paper thin. The second Tobin looks back at his training years when he lived fine on $60,000 and runs a quiet calculation. He decides he can live well on $120. That doubles his old lifestyle, which feels luxurious after years of scarcity, and then he caps it. His spending goes flat. His income keeps climbing. The gap between them turns into a widening wedge. He is moving close to $200,000 a year into index funds, brokerage accounts, real estate equity, and aggressive loan payoff. Year 1, the difference is small. By year 5, compounding kicks in, and the second Tobin's wealth curve bends straight up. By year 10, the gap is staggering. The first Tobin has maybe $150,000 to his name after a decade. The second has a net worth closing in on $2.5 million. Same salary, two completely different lives. And here is the part almost no one points out. The second Tobin does not just have more money, he needs less of it to be free. Because his spending stays low, the number he has to hit to walk away from work forever is also low. He is fighting a smaller enemy with a much bigger army. The first Tobin might need $10 million to fund the life he locked himself into. The second might need $3 million. And since he saves around 10 times as much each year, he gets there in 7 to 10 years instead of 30 or 40. So how do you pull off the second Tobin without relying on willpower? You do not use willpower. You use automation. You set it up so the savings leave before they ever touch your checking account, straight into retirement accounts, a brokerage, and loan principal. You hide the money from yourself before you get the chance to spend it. Then you run your life on what is left. If the money is not in your checking account, you cannot impulse buy a heated driveway with it. You create a little scarcity in the one place that can be tempted. You feel slightly broke day to day while your net worth quietly explodes in the background. It is a small bit of warfare against your own worst impulses, and it is the only thing that holds up across an entire career. There is one objection I always get. I do not want to live like a miser. I could be gone tomorrow. I want to enjoy my money. You should. I mean that. But there is a real difference between enjoying your life and financing a lifestyle. One gives you joy. The other gives you obligations. The real luxury for a high earner is not a sports car. It is autonomy, the ability to say no. When your fixed costs stay low, you are buying the option to walk away from any job, any boss, any situation that stops fitting your life. You are buying the ability to work part-time, to take a break when a parent gets sick, to switch into work that means more, even if it pays less, without your whole financial world caving in. Burnout in these careers is everywhere and getting worse. The happiest high earners are not the ones with the biggest houses. They are the ones with enough cushion that they can do the work on their own terms because they do not need the next paycheck to cover a huge mortgage and a private school bill. They unhooked their survival from their employer. That is what real wealth actually is. Try this next time you want a luxury thing. price it in days of your life. If you clear $1,000 a day after taxes and you want a $60,000 boat, that boat costs 60 days. 60 days of early alarms, stress, and missed time with your family. Is it worth 2 months of your life? Maybe. If you genuinely love it and it gets used every weekend for years, go for it. But for most status purchases, the watch, the third car, the renovation you do not need, the trade is not worth it. Once you start pricing things in days of life instead of dollars, your spending flattens on its own. You realize most of it is simply too expensive in time. The dollars you can earn back, the time you cannot. The point of all of this, the tub, the wedge, the patience, the cooling off period, is not to die with the biggest pile. It is to reach the crossover point as fast as you can. That is the moment the income from your investments passes your yearly spending. Cross that line and work becomes a choice instead of a sentence. For the second Tobin, that might land in his mid-40s. For the first Tobin, it might never come. Same salary, 2 completely different relationships with the rest of their lives. Being a high earner hands you a shovel, big enough to dig yourself out of any hole, or deep enough to bury yourself in one you built. The whole thing comes down to the gap between what comes in and what goes out. Here is the whole thing in one line. As income rises, spending tends to rise right alongside it, which leaves your wealth flat. The fix is to separate those two on purpose. Cap the spending, let the income climb. Pour the difference into investments and debt. Dodge the big 3, the house, the car, and the status. And remember, the most expensive thing you will ever buy is a lifestyle that forces you to keep working forever to pay for it. The man from the beginning, $300,000 a year and $600 in checking, is not there because he is bad with money. He is there because no one ever showed him the tub. He let the water pour in and pour right back out for 13 straight years. Now he is living a life he never really chose, paying for a version of himself he is not even sure he wanted. You do not have to be that man. The math is the same in every direction. The gap is the wealth. Everything else is just a story we tell ourselves about why this year's upgrade was somehow different. Speaking of upgrades that are actually worth it, down in the description we have ebooks that cost less than one of those $18 cocktails, financial calculators that will happily do the scary math so you do not have to, and a stack of resources over at Jetset Wealthstyle. Think of it as the one purchase that does not come with a contract, a drain, or a lease. Links are below. Go fill your tub. I will be right here judging driveways.